What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Overwatch loot boxes have been deemed illegal in another country. What does this mean for the future of the loot boxes and seasonal event items in general? Just recently, the Belgian government decided that loot boxes are gambling, and because of that, they're not going to be allowed in games like Overwatch or Heroes of the Storm. Now, last year, the Chinese government came to a similar conclusion, and we actually found out the drop rates for legendary and epic items because of what China did. They basically said you had to disclose the drop rates of the really rare items, so Blizzard had to tell us that stuff. But in addition to that, in China, Blizzard can't simply directly sell the loot boxes anymore. They have to sell like credits, kind of, and then as an extra bonus, you get the loot boxes. So you buy some amount of credits, and then you get 20 loot boxes in addition to that. So it's kind of like not having a license to sell food, so instead you sell napkins, and then you just give them the hot dog for free. It's a bit of a workaround. I don't know if that's going to work in Belgium or not. I'm not a legal expert in any of that sort of stuff. All of this is going to have a pretty significant impact on how Blizzard does their events in the future. So first, let me start by reading the statement from Blizzard. It says, in April 2018, the Belgian Gaming Commission published a report that was endorsed by the Belgian Ministry of Justice, in which they concluded that paid loot boxes in Overwatch are considered gambling under local law. While we at Blizzard were surprised by this conclusion and do not share the same opinion, we have decided to comply with their interpretation of Belgian law. As a result, we have no choice but to implement measures that will prevent Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm players located in Belgium from purchasing in-game loot boxes and loot chests with real money and gems. No matter what, we want to make sure that our players around the world have the best entertainment experience possible. While players in Belgium will no longer be able to purchase paid loot boxes in Overwatch and loot chests in Heroes of the Storm, they'll still be able to earn them by playing the games, and they'll still have access to all in-game content. These measures will be implemented shortly. We also remain open to further discussions with the Belgian Gaming Commission and Ministry of Justice on this topic. I'm going to briefly go into my thoughts on this, and then we're going to talk about what Blizzard is probably going to do in order to compensate for not being able to sell these loot boxes, because if they can't sell loot boxes in a lot of countries, then they're going to lose a significant amount of revenue, and if they're not making money, then they're not going to be able to add new stuff to the game, and that's going to be a problem. So I guess the first thing is, are loot boxes even gambling? I've kind of gone back and forth on this. I'm not really sure. At this point in time, I would say no. For specifically the Overwatch loot boxes, I would say no. And the reason is that you can't do anything other than simply use them in-game. It's not like you can trade them to other people, you can't sell them on eBay, you can't do any of that stuff. You get the stuff and then you use it, and that's it. I mean, there are other kinds of loot boxes where you get an advantage in the game, and I don't like those at all. Any type of thing that you can buy, and all of a sudden your character is more powerful or faster or whatever, I don't like those sorts of loot boxes. I don't like those sorts of power-ups or any of that kind of stuff at all in a game. But with Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm, it's just purely cosmetic. Like, you don't get any advantage from it. It's just something cool that you can use while you're playing the game. Now, there are other things in real life that you can buy, like the little, they're called blind boxes, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, they're like little toy sets, and you buy the box, but you don't know what character is gonna be in the box. So you just buy it, and then you just randomly get whatever it happens to be, and it means that you have to buy a bunch of those in order to get the whole set. But the thing is, with those, you can go and sell your extras on eBay, so it's different. Whereas with Overwatch, you can't sell that stuff. I mean, even with CSGO, you can still sell some of the items that you get, but in Overwatch, you can't. Like, it's just that. The item has no value at all, so I just don't know how that can really be gambling. There is another issue, and that comes in the form of whales. That's a term that refers to players who spend a massive amount of money buying stuff in-game. Now, most of the time, this is in games where buying stuff actually gives you an advantage. You get better weapons, or you level up faster, your character's stronger faster, whatever it happens to be. But in Overwatch, while there are going to be people that would be classified as whales, it's extremely limited because there's only a certain number of items in the game. You really don't have to buy all that many loot boxes in order to actually get everything in Overwatch. So there's no real advantage to buying everything, and there's not really a whole lot of stuff to buy anyways. So yes, whales do exist in Overwatch, but it's not as bad as other places. But even then, it doesn't really matter because it's all about individual responsibility. Gambling addiction, like any other addiction, is a serious issue, but I cannot see punishing the overwhelming majority of the player base because a very small number of players have an issue with spending too much money. Maybe the companies could have a cap on how much they spend, like you're only allowed to buy a certain number of loot boxes in a given time period or something like that. But again, it still falls back to the individual responsibility. Alright, so moving on, what is Blizzard going to do about this? So first of all, we already have the game that we paid for. We gave our money to Blizzard, they gave us Overwatch, that's it. Anything extra they add for new events year after year, that is free, that is bonus, and we should be grateful for that. We don't have to pay a single penny for it. But don't kid yourself. Blizzard isn't adding that stuff out of the sheer goodness of their heart. They're doing it because they know that some players will choose to buy loot boxes and give them more money. And as a result, they can continue making even more events, and the cycle continues over and over. They give us new events, some of the player base buys loot boxes, they make enough money, they do another event. But what happens when more and more countries take the stance of Belgium, where the players are not allowed to buy loot boxes? There's no incentive for Blizzard to continue making this stuff. There's no reason for them to add new seasonal skins all the time, because they need to pay artists, animators, programmers in order to make this stuff. And if they can't sell it, then why bother making it? And then people are going to get mad at Blizzard, why aren't you adding more stuff to the game? And I've already seen this starting to happen even with this loot box thing in Belgium. They're already complaining, well, why doesn't Blizzard have an alternate method in order to get the stuff now? It's like, why are you mad at Blizzard? It's the Belgian government that made this decision. They're the ones that are preventing you from doing the thing. If you should be mad at anyone, be mad at them. It's kind of like with the flags that were added for the Summer Games, because a bunch of people are always complaining and they're asking, why aren't such and such country flags in the game? And Blizzard actually responded, Jeff Kaplan specifically responded to this. He said, we try to include as many flags as we legally can. If we had our way, every nation's flag would be in the game. It's not Blizzard that's stopping them from adding the stuff in the game. It's the country and the stupid laws that that country has. It's the same thing with, like, the tokens for the Overwatch League. It's not Twitch, it's not Blizzard that are stopping you from getting the tokens from watching the match. It's the laws of your country that are preventing it. If you're gonna be mad at them. In the case of China, there's a workaround, and Blizzard can still do what they need to do. For Belgium, I don't know what's gonna happen. Let's assume for the sake of argument it doesn't work. In that case, Blizzard has 3 options that they can go to. The first is to simply sell the thing directly. If you want to buy a legendary skin or an epic emote, whatever it happens to be, you just give Blizzard real money and they unlock it for you, and that's it. But keep in mind, the legendary skins for the All-Star event are $10 a piece. Does anyone really want to spend $10 a piece for a legendary skin? Because I know I don't. So that brings in another issue though. So you might get some people that are willing to spend money on a legendary or an epic, but how many players do you think are going to be willing to drop $1 on a new voice line? I'm guessing not too many. So that leads into the second option, which is rather than buying the items directly, you simply buy the credits. So you spend however much real money and you buy the credits, and then you can spend that on whatever you want for items in-game. That's probably going to be the best method in terms of directly purchasing that stuff, because then you can have whatever extra amount of credits and you can use it for the voice lines and the other little extra things that you normally wouldn't want to spend real money on. And that brings us to the third option, which is the Season Pass. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are already familiar with that. There are 2 kinds of Season Passes though. The first one is where you just automatically get everything new whenever it happens to come out. And the second one is more of the Fortnite model where you buy the Season Pass, but you still have to level up and play the game in order to unlock the stuff. I really don't like that model because I've already paid you the money. Basically, I bought the DLC from you. I don't want to have to also play 100 hours in order to get the thing that I already gave you money for. Now, neither of these systems have absolutely any randomness to it whatsoever. They could not possibly be considered gambling in any form or fashion because you're told explicitly this is what you're going to get. Even the Fortnite model, it tells you, like, when you buy the season pass, this is what you get at level 10, this is what you get at level 20, this is what you get at level 30, etc., etc. You know exactly what you're going to get when you buy it. As of right now, I don't think Blizzard has any plans to change how the loot boxes work for the rest of the world. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if somewhere behind the scenes they're already coming up with a different method and they're discussing whether they should go to the direct buy or the season pass or all that sort of stuff. Because if it does become an issue in a much bigger country like the United States, then they're going to have to change their model. But for right now, they're probably just going to stick with what they have. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think that you should be able to purchase loot boxes? Would you rather have a season pass? Would you rather have direct buy? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.